y'all, welcome to Ms. Clark's chemistry class. This is the second lesson of a series of lessons about acids and bases. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the different types of acids and bases. We're going to go over a few different definitions over the types of acids and bases. Now, I've already given you all the basics about the properties of acids and bases. And if you missed that video, it's because you have not subscribed. Okay, go get your notes, get something to write with, and let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with the oldest definition of acids first. This is the Arrhenius definition. Arrhenius is the scientist who came up with this definition. So an Arrhenius acid, it's a substance that increases the concentration of the hydrogen ion when it's dissolved in water. And so when we talk about acids starting with hydrogens, we talked about hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, and those acids start with H. We're going to learn that not all acids have to start with H. So when you dissolve them in water and they dissociate and come apart, we would have hydrogen ions floating around. Here's how an Arrhenius acid would dissociate in water. So if we have hydrobromic acid, it would dissociate into the hydrogen ion and a bromine ion. And since those are ions with a charge, this is why Arrhenius acids are good electrolytes. Let's look at sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, 2 hydrogens. So for every 1 molecule of sulfuric acid, it would dissociate into 2 hydrogen ions. And then now let's remember something from a previous lesson about dissociation and how things dissolve. SO4, sulfate, that is a polyatomic ion and it does have a charge, but only when it's together. SO4 is held together with covalent bonds. And so SO4 stays together. It has a -2 charge. And so this is just 2 examples of how an Arrhenius acid is going to dissociate in water. Okay, so an Arrhenius base. These are substances that when you dissolve them in water, they increase the hydroxide concentration. Arrhenius bases end in OH. So you could have like NaOH, you could have KOH. With acids, they had their own set of rules on how to name them. The hydrox, the hydro, the ic, all that. But bases, we just name them as ionic compounds. So sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. You just need to know when it ends with hydroxide, that means it's a base. Okay, so let's look and see how Arrhenius bases dissociate when they're in water. And since they dissociate into their ions, they're also good electrolytes. So aluminum is a +3 ion. It'll dissociate. Now, hydroxide is going to stay together. It's a polyatomic ion. We just talked about that a second ago. But let's notice that in aluminum hydroxide, there's 3 of them. So for every 1 molecule of aluminum hydroxide, there would be 3 hydroxide ions to dissociate. Sodium hydroxide, there's just 1 sodium, 1 hydroxide. So we would have sodium and hydroxide. So when we dissolve these into water, the hydroxides, and everything dissociates, it's going to increase the hydroxide ion concentration. That's the definition of Arrhenius base. Now let's talk about another definition of acid base. Now this is going to be brand new. Bronsted-Lowry. These are 2 scientists that separately came up with this definition, and so both of them get credit. And they both thought that the Arrhenius definition was very specific. It was only true when substances were dissolved in water. So these guys realized that it's more about how acids and bases react together that make them acids and bases. And so they developed a different definition. So it's a substance that can transfer a proton to another substance. And so we call this a proton donor. And let's back up for a second. Let's look at that hydrogen ion again. And let's remember a few things about hydrogen. Hydrogen, that's the first element on the periodic table. So it has 1 proton. Now, normally it would have 1 electron, but it says the ion. Since that plus is there, a hydrogen ion has 0 electrons. And its mass, its atomic mass, it's about 1. So that means there's no neutrons. And so often when we're talking about a proton, we write that like this, the hydrogen ion. Because really, if we're looking at the hydrogen ion's subatomic particles, a hydrogen ion is a proton. Now, a lot of times the hydrogen ion can be written like this, or we could consider hydronium. H3O is hydronium. The hydrogen ion and the hydronium ion are used interchangeably. And the reason why, if we dissolve our acid in water, we've got H2O, but if we add this hydrogen ion to it and we get 1 more hydrogen, we get this. And so a lot of scientists, a lot of chemists use this to show the hydrogen ion, and a lot of them use this to show the hydrogen ion. That was a lot more than just the definition of a Bronsted-Lowry acid. But I wanted you to see how this proton donor, basically we're still talking about this hydrogen ion. Okay, so let's look at Bronsted-Lowry Base. Okay, so a substance that can receive a proton from another substance. So if acids are a proton donor, a base is a proton acceptor. So if you notice, this definition of base didn't really talk about hydroxide at all. It is a substance that can receive a proton, that H+. And when we're talking about acids can donate protons, we've got these two vocab words, monoprotic, polyprotic. Now mono, we've learned about this prefix, it means one. And poly, we've learned poly from math for several years now probably. And this means many, more than one, whatever. And so protic, that sounds like proton. So a monoprotic acid can donate one proton. So for example, hydrochloric acid, hydrobromic acid, even nitric acid. We see what's in common here. One hydrogen, one hydrogen, one hydrogen, monoprotic. Now, we do have diprotic, triprotic, or we could lump all of those together to polyprotic. Like I'm hoping you are already realizing, can donate more than one proton. So for example, if we had sulfuric acid, H2SO4, this would be polyprotic, or more specifically, we could call this diprotic because of that too. We could have phosphoric acid. This is triprotic, again, because we've got three hydrogens. Or we could lump diprotic and triprotic together and call that polyprotic. Speaking of phosphoric acid, when phosphoric acid dissociates in water, it does it step by step. So we could show that phosphoric acid would lose one of its hydrogen ions, it's donating it, and then we would be left with H2PO4. And then that still has two hydrogens to give. So it could further dissociate. If we take that product and dissociate even farther, pull another hydrogen ion off, and then we're left with biphosphate, but there's still another hydrogen. So we could even take that product, dissociate it even further until we're finally just left with phosphate. I just kind of wanted to show you the stepwise progression of how a polyprotic acid would dissociate. Now, there is a third definition for acids and bases, and I'm going to be super honest with you. I'm going to give you the definition because it exists. I want you to realize that I know it exists, and then that's really about it. The Lewis acid and base definition, we just don't really learn that at this level of chemistry. The Bronsted-Lowry definition talks all about protons. Lewis, is that name sounding familiar to you at all? You know, like Lewis dot structures? Same Lewis. Well, Lewis, his specialty was in electrons. So this definition is going to talk about electrons. So the Lewis acid and base definition is going to talk about electrons, and a Lewis acid would be an electron acceptor, and a base would be an electron donor. Like I said, that's really all I'm going to say about Lewis acids. The Arrhenius definition is much more specific because this is only when they're dissolved in water. Now, the Bronsted-Lowry definition is much more broad because we could dissolve these substances into any solvent, and this definition still rings true. Now, the reason why I don't really go into much detail about Lewis acids and bases is because they're really used in organic chemistry, and that's just not where we are at yet. Okay, let's get this next vocab word, amphoteric. Amphoteric means a substance that can either donate a proton or accept a proton. So an amphoteric substance can act as a Bronsted-Lowry acid or base. Let's write that down. An amphoteric substance, it can't be both at the same time, but it can act as an acid or it can act as a base. It has that ability. Water is the most common amphoteric substance. Let me show you how that is. So if we're looking at this first reaction here, we see water being reacted with hydrochloric acid. If we had to choose one to be the acid and one to be the base, hydrochloric acid, that's going to be the acid. And we see, if we look over here, we see that hydrochloric acid donated its hydrogen. It doesn't have it anymore. It got rid of it. It donated it. And look who accepted it. Water. Water accepted that proton. And so according to the Bronsted-Lowry definition, if you accept protons, you are a base. But in the second example, we've got water, we have ammonia. Now, ammonia is one of those kind of tricky ones, and it's just something that you're going to have to memorize. NH3 is ammonia, and it's always a base. There's no OH to say, hey, that is a base. We just have to know it. So if ammonia is a base, then that would mean water would have to be the acid. And now let's look a little bit further. Ammonia here, accepted a proton. See, 3 to 4. It accepted a proton. It's a proton acceptor. It's got to be a base. Water here, oh, where did its proton go? Well, it went to ammonia to make ammonium, and it left it OH. So water donated a proton. And if we donate protons, we're considered an acid. So water can act as a base and an acid. It is amphoteric. Here's a couple of more amphoteric examples. Let's prove that bisulfite can act as an acid and a base. A tip here, amphoteric substances are almost often ions with H's in front. For example, real quick before we do this, bisulfite, we could have bisulfate. We could also have bicarbonate. Okay, see what I'm saying? Polyatomic ion begins with a hydrogen. It can be an amphoteric substance. Let's look at this first example and prove how HSO3- can be amphoteric. First, we've got to figure out which one's the acid and which one is the base. Acid, right? It starts with an H. The name of this is hydrofluoric acid. Of course, it's got to be the acid. So here is going to be the base. So if we complete that reaction, we know this acid is going to give up its proton. And when it gives up its proton, we're going to have just F-. I know that it's minus because I know H is a plus. And so if H is a plus, F is a minus. Okay, well this H traveled over here because remember, acids are donors, bases are acceptors. So if we rewrite that with that new proton, we're going to have H2SO3. So in this instance, bisulfite acted as a base because it accepted a proton. Now let's look at the second example. Like I said a while ago, we just always got to remember ammonia, it's a base. So that means bisulfite would have to be the acid. And let's see how this works. Remember, acids donate their protons. So if we donate that proton to NH3, we're going to get NH4+. And when it's donated, that leaves us with SO4-2. I hope that makes sense, how amphoteric can act as an acid and a base. Now, when we're talking about Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases, and we're talking about that transfer of protons, you may have noticed when an acid donates its proton, it starts to kind of look like a base on the other side. Or when the base accepts a proton, on the product side, it kind of starts looking like an acid. And so according to the Bronsted-Lowry definition, we get this thing called a conjugate acid and base. And that just means after the proton has been donated or accepted, what do you look like? Do you look like a base? Well, then we call that a conjugate base. Or once you donate or receive that proton, do you kind of now look like an acid? That's the conjugate acid. Okay, so the acid and base, that's going to be on the reactant side. And they're going to link together. This acid, once it donates its proton, it'll start looking like a base. So this is called a conjugate acid-base pair. They go together. This base, once it accepts that proton, it's going to start looking like an acid. So they're going to be joined together. So let's look at that in an example. Nitric acid reacting with water. Water, there's that amphoteric base here. Okay, because HNO3, that's definitely going to be the acid. That means water has to act as the base. When nitric acid donates its proton, it's just going to be the nitrate ion. And now it looks like a base. So this is we call this the conjugate base. And if we look at water, it accepted that proton, and so it now has an extra proton, which it could donate. And so it looks more like an acid, but we call that its conjugate acid. So this acid has a conjugate base. This base has a conjugate acid. So let's look at these acids, and let's see what it looks like after we donate that proton. So we're going to donate the proton, and then what does the conjugate base look like? Well, it's just going to be the ClO4. And since H is a +1, this must be a minus because when they were together, they were neutral. But when hydrosulfuric acid donates a proton, we are left with HS. This is a diprotic acid, so it could donate even another proton, but let's not go that far. Here, we could donate a proton, and then we're left with PH3. And PH3 doesn't have a charge because it was an ion already over here with the plus, and when I take that plus away, leaves it neutral. So a base accepts a proton. So we would need to first show that we're accepting this proton. So I'm going to put it on the reactant side. The base and the proton, put them together, then you get your conjugate acid. So over here, we're going to have HCN, which is hydrocyanic acid. Again, we've got to add that hydrogen ion, and then we are going to get HSO4 -2 + 1, so we still have a negative charge, a -1. Or just negative, either way. Here we've got water. We're telling you that it's going to act as a base. So we've got water. When we add that hydrogen ion to water,
we're going to get H3O plus, there's that hydronium ion, and the hydronium ion does act like an acid.
That was a lot of information, wasn't it? There's a lot to know about acids and bases. We've got Arrhenius, Bronsted-Lowry, Lewis. I know, it's a lot. In fact, so much, I've got another lesson coming your way about the strengths of acid. So stay tuned. Until next time, bye y'all.